Hello, my name is Kashawn Hopkins. I'm an instructional technology specialist from Oklahoma Public School Resource Center. And today in this Tech Talk, I'm here to talk about Blogger. Yeah, and here I'm also would normally be with Kurt Bernhardt. He's our technology director, and together we make the technology team. If you ever want to talk to us about either Blogger or anything else that I talk about in the Tech Talks, or just anything about technology in general, we want to hear from you, and you can do that through techteam@opsrc.net. Also, if you want access to these slides, I highly recommend you do. They have some lovely resources on them. You can do that through this link here. It is case sensitive, so keep that in mind. I'm going to spell it out real quick. It's lowercase t, period, ly, / lowercase y, uppercase n, lowercase q, and then the number 9. With all of that, you will have access to these lovely slides. And so I just wanted to show you a little bit before we jump into things, just an example of what Blogger would look like. Here's an example of a lovely little address. It's usually some kind of name, period, blogspot.com. Let's jump into that just so you can see a little bit what these blogs look like. And so over here, we have most of the page dedicated to the posts themselves. I can scroll through and see kind of a truncated version of what's going on all those posts. And if they're short, that's great. I have some lovely images that go with them. On the top left-hand corner, I can see all the contributors to this blog. Blogger supports the ability for multiple authors and multiple administrators, and so you can see all of that here. Below that, I have an archived, organized by date, and some tags over here. They refer to them as labels, but you can also know them as tags as well, making it easy for me to filter down posts. So if I only want to see posts dedicated to Seesaw, I can do that. If I could use the label on just regular post, I can see that as well. But yeah, if I wanted to jump in a post to see some of the details, I can just go over and click read more, or I can post a comment as well. I'm going to click on read more so you can see a bit of that. Because these are only truncated versions of the post. When I open it up, I see there's more information. Like, for example, I see there's an embedded video here. That looks quite lovely. Oh, it's me. That's great. And something that's I'm kind of really excited about this feature. I think this is a really cool part of Blogger, is the fact that you can blog in different languages here. It supports that, so it's really nice. And you can also enter in comments. If you have something to say about these posts, you can do that. But also there is security and privacy involved as well. If you want to moderate those comments or completely lock them out, totally fine. You can do that as well. And so this is really easy to set up. It's all free. I think Blogger is an amazing tool because I believe that the act of blogging in the classroom, it's about empowering students. You give them the ability to improve their communication skills. You teach them kind of the value of communicating with clarity, and also just being a part of being a good digital citizen, just seeing content out there, and instead of breaking it down, just boosting it up with good feedback. And so I think you can get all that with Blogger. It's not the only free blog tool out there, but it's one that I am going to recommend because I just think it has some lovely features and it plays really nice with some of the other Google tools as well, as it's all owned by the same company. Anyways, let's move on to what we're doing here, so you know kind of the value of the time that you're going to be spending with me in the next 25-ish minutes. So from here, I've already done my introduction, so we're already at step 1 here, but I'm going to move into a bit of theory on just kind of laying the foundation here on what are we doing here? Why are we considered bringing technology into the classroom? Just kind of thinking, reflecting a bit more about that. And then if you're convinced, okay, this is what I want to put in my classroom, this is what I'm willing to spend time and resources on to get it to work. Just moving on to the question of how you could go about that. And I give some recommendations on how to answer some of those questions. Next, I answer some questions specifically about the tool I'm talking about, in this case, Blogger. And then I do a little bit of showcase, showing you some of the features, just how to get yourself started in there so you feel a little bit more comfortable when you're playing around with it for the first time. After that, once we have the showcase and the theory, I'm going to put both of them together and discuss a couple of tool applications. At this point in the Tech Talk, I will invite you to think about what will this tool look like if it's in your classroom, if it's engaging, if it's combined with the rest of what you're trying to do and supporting your goals and supporting the different skills that you want students to have. So I talk a little bit, just give a couple of examples there. And then I round it out by giving you some goodies. My goodie bag is a bunch of resources. If you want to extend your learning about anything that we've talked about, I'm going to share some of my research with you. Just different things that I found that I think are going to be useful. I'm going to give a link to an evaluation and answer any questions you might have as well. So just to let you know, all of this is being recorded. So if you need access to it later, I will show you where you can find all of this. So without further ado, let's dig in. I'm a teacher, so I used to teach, so I got to have my objective in here anytime I do some kind of presentation. So what are we learning? My objective here is after the training, teachers will be able to integrate Blogger in their classroom to help students achieve learning goals and acquire 21st century skills. Let's break this down a bit. I got my subject here, of course, my Blogger, and then I have some things that I want and some things that we're doing here. So let's start with the things that we want. So this is answering the question of why on the earth are we going to bother to spend the time and energy? We're trying to do so much inside of the classroom. Why are we spending the time and the energy to invest in something like Blogger or any kind of technology tool? And I see this being answered in two ways. One of which is more specific to you and the subject and the age that range that you're teaching. You can answer by saying, okay, I want to support my learning goals here. I have a list of things. These are some things that I'm in charge with making sure that students learn. And I don't want technology to take away from any of that. I want it to be able to support that, to kind of empower your ability and just make it a little bit more robust as you're accomplishing those learning goals for your students. On a kind of more broad general sense, another way to answer it would be like supporting something like the 4Cs. This would be from the National Education Association. They see that there are a couple of skills out there that are going to be universally useful for your students in the classroom, out the classroom, in their careers in college. They highlight four things. There are more, but these are kind of like the four main ideas here, the 4Cs, and that would be communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So whenever I'm picking technology tools for these tech talks, I try to think, do they support these four skills in one way or another? And I think this does a phenomenal job with every single one of these, just being able to provide students an opportunity on a regularly updated basis on being able to support any one of these skills here. And so we'll jump more into that once we get into the showcase bit of this. But let's say, for example, you're convinced, you're like, okay, I found this piece of technology, I want to use it. Then your next question will be, how do we use it? And so talking about technology integration, there's lots of models out there. I'm going to recommend this one just because I think it's an easy one to do, and it's broken down in some easy pieces here that you can, readily apply to what you're doing in the classroom and the type of technology that you're using. And it's called the SAMR model, SAMR. Each one is a level of technology integration. And the way that you apply a piece of technology can fit multiple ones of these levels, but just kind of breaking it down a little bit. You could use a piece of technology as a direct substitute for something that you're doing, or you could take advantage of particular functions of that technology to make improvements in your classroom, or you can use it as the basis of a task and completely redefine how that task works, or you could use that piece of technology to create a task that wouldn't be possible without that piece of technology there. So typically I try to help people to work at that transformational stage. So that would be the modification redefinition there. But there is no problem with using the technology kind of at a base level. If that's where your comfort level is at, that is totally fine. Sometimes you got to start down here before you work your way up here and maybe even have the full range using this model in multiple different ways in your classroom in kind of like a fully realized way. So yeah, please keep this in mind. I'm going to refer back to this so we can use it a little bit more, get a little bit more understanding from that. But I think at this point, it is time to actually get our hands to what you're here for, which is Blogger itself. So allow me to answer a few basic questions about it. Like, for example, what is Blogger? For the uninformed, that is fine. I'm going to inform you now. It is a multi-user content delivery system with regularly updated and time-stamped entry. So yeah, this is kind of like a little basic definition of a couple of the things that it can do. It's a blogging system for the most part. A couple of features of things that it can do for your classroom. First and foremost, it automatically organizes everything by date. And so the more recent information will be at the top, everything else will be pushed down. So that's kind of the structure of it. And there's power behind that structure, being able to organize things by that, because you can see kind of the progression of someone's thought or the progression of someone's learning. It's really nice to have that like that. And you can even filter it down, which I'll show you that later. Next, you can embed media, you can embed videos, images, audio, all that stuff in there. It's really easy to do. You can do it as a click of a button or copy pasting some URLs or pulling from a resource pile. You can have multiple authors work on the same blog. This makes it easy for you to form groups of authors put together here. One really cool thing, I'm so excited to get to this part, is this supports multiple language. So if a student speaks in a different native language, they also still have access to this tool. It is super crazy cool. I love it. And then for the last bit over here, certainly not the last cool feature about it, but another one that's worth mentioning is the fact that it is not only Chromebook friendly, but it's also mobile friendly. They have apps that support Blogger. So if you want to blog on the go, if you want students to blog while they're out as part of homework or something, they have access to that, assuming they have access to internet and the technology for that, the hardware. And then finally, the question of where do you access it? Very simple URL. It is blogger.com. And I think that is a wonderful place for us to do a little bit of showcase here. So let's jump into that in a minute. All right. The only thing that you really need for to Blogger is a Gmail account. If you have a Gmail account, you're good. You can get in here. You can get into it for free. I'm already currently in a blog. Unless I delete all my blogs, you're going to have this view on here. Right now, I'm on the dashboard where you can see everything. I'm going to the top left-hand corner. Typically, the top left-hand corner where it says Kashan's Sing Along blog. That's the blog I was using as the example. Typically, that will just have new blog. That's how you get started. You just click on that button. Then you get this little pop-up that says choose a name for your blog. So this is what's going to be at the top of your blog. You can actually change this title later in the settings, which is what I'm going to jump into in a bit. But for right now, I'm going to say, animal blog, I suppose. I'm always thinking of animal examples. It's so easy. I press next. Right after that, you get to choose the prefix for your URL. Unless you pay for like a custom one, it's always going to be some name and then .blogspot.com. There's no way to really change that unless you pay for it. But for right now, I'm going to say cash animals. Oh, okay, cool. And I paused for a second there because right below that, it will let you know whether or not automatically if the blog address is available. Someone's already taken it, then you might have to throw in some numbers in there and get a little bit creative here. But cash animals sounds really great here. I'm going to click on save. Once you do that, it'll do a little bit of processing there. And then it will take you to the dashboard where I was a second ago. And you can actually maintain quite a bit of blogs. As you can see on the top left-hand corner, if I click on this drop-down menu, I have these other blogs that I'm affiliated with as well. I've read somewhere you can create up to 100 blogs, which seems like a lot for one person. But yeah, you can get really crazy with this stuff, but I'm going to continue with the animal blog here. Now, something that I recommend that you do when you first set up your blog, and I think this is worth doing for all your students as well, having them go through this process first, is bottom left-hand corner in the navigation bar down here, about third one down is the settings button. I highly recommend that you go through that and start setting up the way that your blog is going to work overall. And I just want to briefly touch on a few things. Like, for example, this is where you change the title. You just click it and you re-edit it. You can add a description on there, which will go right below your blog. This will give an idea, just a quick idea of what this blog is about. This is where I post about animals. That's great. We'll see that later. Yeah, let's see. What else is worth mentioning here? We have the privacy section. If I don't want this to be visible to search engines, if this is just kind of like a private blog for your own classroom, boom, turn that off. You can't search for it. You need a link to get to it. No problem. But notice that it is on by default, so keep that in mind. If I wanted to change the blog address, I could do that or get a custom name as well. If I scroll down a little bit more, I have my permissions section down over here. This is where I can use this section to invite extra authors in here. So if I wanted to invite somebody in here, I just click on invite more authors, type in their address in there, and I can press enter if I want to after this and enter another address. That's fine, but I'm just going to keep it to 1. And then when I send it out, they're added to the pending author invites. And once they accept that, I can adjust where it says a blog admins and authors. There will be a little drop-down menu. I can't show you this now because it's just me and I'm the admin. I can't change that. But you can swap between admin and authors. Authors can really only post. Admins can control all the aspects about the blog, like all the settings that I'm doing here. Also, you have an option to do reader access. By default, it's public, so anybody can, in this case, anybody with a link can view it. If you want to adjust that to make it private to authors, or if you want to use custom readers, like you want to input the email of anybody that can go in your blog, you can really control who has access to your blog, so you can make sure that privacy is maintained. Another thing that you can do is adjust the max amount of posts that show up on the main page, because after a while, they will just be archived and you have to search for them. Yeah, you can adjust how the comments work. You can make sure that they're moderated. So you have to accept all comments that come in. So you can kind of control that a bit there. And so all of that is worth taking a look at and making decisions first before you even make the first post there. That way they have kind of a clear idea of who's coming in, who's commenting. You have that extra bit of privacy and security there. But once you're done, top left-hand corner, big O button in orange, plus new post. That's where we're going to go. All right. So here's the interface to build a post. It's very simple, easy to go through. Top left-hand corner, we have the title of the post. I'm going to call this post 1. And I have a little section where I can type in my information like hello world. That's always a good one to start on. Right above that, I have my bar filled with lovely formatting options. I'm just going to point out a couple due to time's sake. One that's worth looking at is this very first one on the far left. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to make it easier to see. There we go. If I click on this little pencil symbol, I can swap between HTML and Compose view. So if you're teaching students HTML, this is a great way to go in there and see how things are being built out. You can easily swap between any of these views at any time. So it's really good for that, I think. Then, you got your basic stuff like undo, redo, if you want. And hotkeys work with that. So if you control Z or control Y, you can take advantage of that. You got your font options on here, so you can change the type size and style. You got your other text stuff like bolding, underline, italicizing, strike through. And one really nice thing that you probably noticed by now is if you scroll over any of these things, it will give you a nice little tooltip to let you know what these things are. Then we have the media options here, like inserting links. So if I want hello world to have the link of, go to YouTube and I want this to open this link in a separate window, boom, so easy. It's already there. I can just click on that and then people can go to YouTube. Very nice. If I wanted to insert images, I can upload from the computer. I can pull from Google Photos. I can reuse any images. Whenever I use an image on here, it's saved inside of Blogger. And so I can pull from that, or I can pull from the URL there. So if I wanted to upload a nice little image there, I'm going to choose this one of OPSRC. It uploaded a copy there. And then I selected, so now I can always use that in the future. And you can make small adjustments. It's not perfect on here unless you have some HTML knowledge here, but you can do basic things like adjust the alignment or give it kind of like a rough general size here if you want to by clicking on this little size button over here, image size, or you could toggle a little bit of a caption on there as well. So there's some adjustments that you can make. Or if you wanted to make it a little bit more ADA compliant, if I click on this little cog symbol that says change, you can add in alt text. So I could say our OPSRC logo in there and update it. That way, screen readers are able to read that, no problem. I can also insert videos. I can upload from a computer, or I could pull directly from a YouTube account. So like if I click on YouTube, I could search for this video, but it also is showing me videos that I've uploaded to my YouTube account from this account. So you can really easily pull in resources if you already have them in other places. Okay, looking at time. Cool. The next thing that I do want to show you, which actually, because I zoomed in, it kind of scrunched up a little bit. So let me zoom back out a little bit more, is on the far end here where this world symbol is, it says input tools. And I think this is just the grooviest thing. If I click on this world symbol, it gives me an example of a good chunk of languages. So let's say, for example, my native language is Korean. In there, my mom is full-blooded Korean, so got a little connection there. If I do that, for right now, if I type in, I get English, you can see that. But what I have to do after that is click on this little keyboard symbol next to it, next to that world symbol, the input tool, and then click on keyboard. And now I have a little keyboard. It's showing me what keys are mapped to what letters in Korean. So I could type something down. This is gibberish, by the way, in Korean. I'm just typing stuff so you can kind of see, but it's spitting out Korean for me, which is really nice. Students have an opportunity to blog in different languages there. It's really nice. And also, keyboard isn't the only option. If you're using like a tablet and you have an opportunity to write things down, I can click this little pencil tool instead, and it brings us this little box. So if I try to, and I know a little bit, let's see if I can get my name in there. That's kind of close, I guess. I can click on that. It's not that, I've probably forgotten something. But if I wanted that to be what gets spit out, I can click on that option and it will spit that out for me in the blog itself. So it's really nice. Okay, once you are done, there's some post settings here on the right-hand side. I can add in a label, which is basically a tag. So I'm gonna say that this is a post by Kashan. So I'm gonna put Kashan in there. I think adding a tag, if you have multiple authors in a blog, adding a tag with their name in it is great because it doesn't, whenever you post something, it doesn't put like who posted it or anything. So put a label for that. Also, I might put something like this is just a regular post. Maybe I might want to separate from like my video post or my resource post, any of that. But yeah, I think that's worth going through as well. And there's a couple of options that are worth exploring up here. But once you're done, you can do one of two things. You can either one, click on preview and get an idea of what your blog looks like, which this is a really great view too, because at the very bottom, you can swap between desktop view, or you can click in this button to do a tablet view. You could do a smartphone view, or you could do a rotate screen view, which is really nice. I haven't seen that before. So lots of options for previewing, or you could click on publish. It will ask you to confirm, and then you have a post here. So when you go down to the bottom left-hand corner and click on View Blog, I'm going to click on that. I can see, boom, I got this nice little post there. Now, something to keep in mind, it will be adjusted a little bit here. When it gives the truncated version, it's automatically kind of smashed in a little bit into a box. And then when you click Read More, it matches that formatting there. But yeah, this is really great. And if I wanted to, and it will automatically do things like reorganize the post based on what's the latest post in terms of the date. It will organize them by month over here in the archive, so you can filter it down by month, or you could filter it down by the labels here. So really easy interface for you to use that. Oh no, it combined those tags together. I forgot to separate them. If you're doing multiple tags, separate them with commas. Totally forgot to do that, and it just melted them together. Adorable. All right, I got roughly about 5 more minutes. I think this is a good time to kind of wrap some things up. First of which, I want to invite everybody to think about some applications for Blogger. I'm going to use the SAMR model to kind of help out a little bit with this, to kind of frame this. But I want you to imagine what would Blogger look like into your classroom after you've seen a couple of these features here. First of which would be a substitution style activity. So something like this, Blogger is a really easy way to just throw together a list of resources in there. If you're scrolling around and you find something that you like, you're like, oh, my colleagues would probably enjoy this, or, oh, these are really good reading books for my students. I can start putting some stuff together and create a list of resources for students. And I'm even going to add to work from home or for colleagues. Yeah, throw them in there. Another thing that you could do with Blogger, because like I said, you want to empower students here. So it's not just great for you, it's great for them as well. An augmentation style activity would be students posting a daily journal reflecting on the main idea of what they learned that day. So just a wonderful opportunity for students to think and just reflect and give them a chance to build on what they've learned on there, and just kind of really reinforce those things they learn so they can remember it a little bit better into the next day, and they can look back at their progress too, and everything is timestamped for them. A modification style activity would be something like students writing drafts of a report or short story. So putting a piece of a written document out there, and then students can regularly come in and they can read through and say, okay, here's some feedback on there. So this does require a little bit of back and forth, a bit of trust, a bit of building that digital citizenship of having students, because it's such a, I feel like it's such a big step for someone to own something and then share it with other people. That is a huge step, because you're putting a piece of yourself out there. You're kind of exposing yourself. You're getting vulnerable, but you're building that trust when people respond to that in kind with positive feedback and useful feedback at that. So I think that is a good modification style activity. And a redefinition. So this is kind of like a more actualized version of what we're trying to do here with some of the pieces here. So this would be something like students work together in a group, and then they work together to interview important members of the community. So let's get the people outside the classroom involved with what we're doing here. And with permission, they publish photo, video, audio evidence of that public viewing. So people can learn, they can get that kind of like perspective of the students learning about the experience that other community members have in there, and they can share it with other people as well and reflect on what they learned. So I think this is kind of a great use of it. Not the only use, but oh man, I think this is a cool thing that you could take advantage of just right off the bat. All right. Let's wrap this up. First of all, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this time with me. I really do appreciate it. If you want to expand, there's so much more to talk about in Blogger. There's so much stuff that I had to cut because I just wanted to make sure that these are short and to the point, and it just get your feet wet there and let you be aware of what's out there. But if you want to extend your learning, I have tons of goodies for blogging. There's so much stuff out there for that, and people have written plenty of examples on that. All of these are wonderful resources, although I recommend the bottom one here because this one's it talks a little bit more about the research here, and anything that has a number in it for just ideas. I think those are all great too, but I think they're all good resources. That's why I would share them. Next is SAMR goodies. I think these are a couple of good examples. If Blogger wasn't for you, that's fine. I recommend that you share it with a colleague, let them know what you experienced here. But at the very least, I think SAMR model can be applied to any piece of technology. I think it's a really useful way. So even if you've been using a piece of technology already, even for a little while, and you're comfortable with it, but you just want to take it up to the next level, take a look at SAMR model. See how you are using that piece of technology in an explicit way, and you might be able to identify a new place for you to use it. So there's some resources for that. And then finally, my last slide. Once again, huge thank you for being here and spending your time with me. I really do appreciate it. And one last thing I would really appreciate is you taking the time to fill out this evaluation. It won't take long. It's a one-pager, just a few questions, a couple of clicks, and then you submit. As with the other address for my slides, this is case sensitive. So spelling this out, lowercase t, period, ly, / lowercase GGZ as in zebra, uppercase K. Once you do that, it'll take you to the evaluation. A little bit of a reminder, I've been Kashan Hopkins, and together with Kurt Bernhardt, who is the technology director, we make the technology team, who you can reach out to at techteam@opsrc.net. Additionally, I have, once again, the link to the slides if you still need it. If you didn't get it initially or you just came late, that's fine. That is the link to the slides. You can get that, and I'll post it in the chat in a bit. And then finally, I highly recommend that you take a look at our other tech talks. You can do that at opsrc.net/tech-talks. Go there real quick, and then we'll be done here. We have the upcoming presentations. We got Blogger this time, Weebly next time. Should be a whole lot of fun. You can register for them now. At the bottom of the page, we have all of our lovely presentations there. They look like a nice little set table there. And so we have the videos to them as the presentation slides to them. So you have access to all of these goodies right at your fingertips. And if you see something, if you don't see something on this page, you're like, why hasn't Kashan talked about this yet? I would love to know. Please fill out this little Google form here, and we'll see what we can do. We want to hear from you. All right, I am completely out of time. In fact, I think I went over by a minute. I'm sorry about that. If you got to go, you can go. But other than that, one last time, I mean it. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me for this Tech Talk, and I hope to see you again.